Freddy, and we're back in our horror corner. And I hope you guys have had a good weekend. I hope everything's well for you and your families and loved ones. And let's jump right into it. So today I want to talk about a movie that came out in 2017 called Frazier Park Recut. And here we got two directors. We have Sam Hanover, and sorry if I say this wrong, dude, Tyler Schnabel. I love saying that. Schnabel. Schnabel. And all right, so the plot seems pretty simple at first. Like if you say it out loud, it's like, oh, okay. We have two filmmakers looking to shoot their first feature film out in Frazier Park, California. They need to hire at least one more person for their lead to play the antagonist of the movie. But once they cast their lead and head out to the location, things slowly start to fall apart. And it just gets into this awesome, freaking like psychological cat and mouse game between this lead actor and the two directors. And heads up right now, I've been debating this for a while, but this is gonna probably have spoilers. Not even probably, this will have spoilers. So you don't wanna watch it, just watch this video for sure, but go check it out, stop this video, then come back. But once you watch this whole movie in its entirety, you can really appreciate for what they were trying to do and what they were aiming for, and they executed it pretty well, I would say. So we follow these two guys. It's established right away why they're filming. Tyler, he's saying that he wants to do a behind-the-scenes type of documentary of them filming their film. So it's established right away, which I like. I like when there is a reason why they're filming. And I'll get into a little bit more of that later on. So another cool thing is we get to see like the process of film being made, of a found footage film being made, which I thought that was really cool and interesting. I've always wanted to do something like make a movie eventually, or help be part of making a movie. I've always been curious of how that works. So to see their pre-production stage was cool. They go shopping for clothes for themselves and their lead, which cool. I didn't even consider something like that. They buy like several outfits just in case. They mentioned like, oh, well, I'm gonna bring like 5 outfits, even though it's for like 3 days of shooting or something, just in case maybe this outfit looks better in lighting or something. So I was like, dude, diva. No, but I just thought that was pretty cool. They go to like a tool shed type of store. They buy like a saw, some cool looking saw. And right when they buy the saw, there's like a cut, and it's almost like a foreshadow, and you just see somebody kind of like standing there holding their stomach all bloody. It's like a quick second split image, almost like in Fight Club. Cigarette burns. But all right, so we get to see them, we follow them shopping, and then they also hold casting, and we get I think like 4 actors. So before I go into them choosing their lead, I want to bring up, I think his name was Todd Berger. I don't know. This guy, he's like practicing tongue twisters, and I just thought that was so funny. You see him like unique New York, and I wrote the other one down. It's rubber baby buggy bumpers. And I don't know, dude. When I saw that, I was just like, dude, that's so funny. But anyways, so they choose this one guy, and even when you're looking at their the photos that people submit, headshots, he just has this look to him. When he's acting, you just feel it. He's almost like menacing, a little unsettling. He's got these like dark under his eyes, and they choose him for that reason. Like he has this feel for it. They even say like this other guy they liked a little bit more, but they felt like he was a little too good looking for the part, which makes sense. So they call Tom up and they're like, dude, you got it. Let us know where you live. We'll come pick you up and we're going to head out. And they get ready. They start packing up. While they're on the phone, they're talking to this guy though. He's like, oh, I don't know if you saw under my resume, I play guitar. So I was thinking of maybe bringing that. And Tyler's on the phone like, no, it's okay. There's already a lot of equipment. There's really no need for it, so just don't even worry about it. So next day they go and pick up this guy, right? And I want to talk about red flags, because there's a few of them here, and I'm going to try to remember as we go, but there are some red flags here. And this is the first one, is they pick him up at a motel, and they even question it for like a split second. You're like, oh, that's weird. And he has a legit reason, I guess. He says his house is being fumigated. Which, I get it. It does make sense in the end, but for me, that was like, dude, red flag. That's a little weird. But anyways, they pick him up, and immediately they see him, and they're like, dude, he brought his guitar. What the hell? And they start laughing about it. And once he gets in the car, he gets settled in. They even mention it. And he's like, I brought the guitar just in case. And Sam is the one to tells him right away, well, you know what? Your character doesn't really call for playing guitar, and it's also a found footage movie, so there's not going to be any music in it, you know. But he says maybe we can just hang around the fire and like freaking sing Kumbaya or something, right? But the next scene is like a little montage of them driving, and there's freaking guitar music in the background. And it's almost like contradicting. And this is probably going to be one of my dislikes, but there's also a reason for this. And I don't want to get into it now. But yeah, there's a little montage and there's guitar music playing. And it's just like, dude, you just said there's not going to be any music in it. But let's go. All right, so they get to the location. They start looking around. They have a chill first night. And they tell the dude, all right, 7 a.m., sharp and ready. We're going to start shooting. And Tom's just like, all right, no problem. I'll see you guys in the morning. And this is probably where we have our first little dilemma, is the next morning they wake up and Tom is MIA, like straight up, for like 3 hours too on top of that. He doesn't answer his phone. They're like, they say that they call out for his name, but nobody answers. So already, Tyler seems to be the more lenient one right now. He's like, oh, let's not let this affect us too much. But Sam has a good point later on. He brings up every day they spend in this cabin is like money. So I can understand, like, dude, we told you to be ready at 7. Where the fuck are you? Sorry for the language. But yeah, where the frick are you? So they decide, okay, well, we gotta change clothes. We're gonna do a different scene now. And they do the scene when they first pulling up to the house. So they get ready. And that was actually really cool to see too. Like I said, this whole process of them seeing how they shoot these found footage movies is cool. So they're shooting their scene. They're pulling up to the house. And this is one of the first indications we get of our actor, Tom Morris, in the movie is a little weird, a little off. He's upstairs and he's filming them with their camera. And he's like, oh, there they are. And he's like, action. And like all of a sudden this like creepy backwards guitar music starts to play. And then it goes back to them shooting their scene, and they walk in the house, they're shooting their scene, and then next thing you know, Tom walks to the door acting all like, oh, what's up? And Sam is like mad. And you can tell he's holding back, but he's pissed. He's like, we got to start shooting now. This can't happen again. You can't do this. You delayed us like by so much. Every day is like money spent, so within reason, they're fine. So everything gets brushed over. They have a good night. They're actually shooting another scene in the house where Tyler notices a lot of background, like humming, and they're not sure where it's coming from. And right away, Tom knows, oh, it's the fridge. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you're shooting, inside a house, you have to turn off the fridge, you have to turn off the AC. It's just common sense. So after they're done doing the shoot, Tyler goes, hey, we need to make sure to plug that fridge back in. We is the key word in that term. But anyway, so you see, he plugs the fridge back in. He's like, all right, I'm going to go upstairs and call my girlfriend. And that's another thing that's noted early on is Sam is moving away with, I think he's going to go move somewhere to move in with a girlfriend that he has. So it's noted that throughout the movie, he's constantly taking phone calls. He's constantly texting or getting text messages while shooting. And he walks out of the room, and that's where we have this first little discussion and almost, I'm going to say a little inception in there from our lead actor, Tom, to Tyler. He goes and he asks him, hey, isn't that a little distracting, don't you think? And Tyler doesn't even think about it at first. He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, he's always answering the phone. He's always taking these calls. It's not distracting. And Tyler at first tries to have his back. Like, no, dude, he's moving. I understand, it's not. But then Tom takes it a little more. It's like, all right, well, so we're on schedule, right? As long as we're on schedule, then we're good. And you can hear it in his voice a little bit too, where Tyler's like, yeah, we're on schedule. So that's like the first little manipulation, because this comes into play the very next morning. They wake up and you have Tyler in front of the camera and he's drinking his coffee. And I'm sorry, all right, I'll go into the dislikes later. So Tyler's drinking his water, most likely, I don't know, something. And he's like, well, look at this. And he points and the fridge is unplugged and it wasn't plugged in. And he goes in and tells him, hey, dude, you didn't plug the fridge back in. And he's like, yeah, I did it when you told me. And it's like a little back and forth. And Tyler doesn't want to eat anything or drink anything because he's scared about getting sick because it's been sitting there for hours and hours. So they have this little back and forth. He tries to tell him the food's fine, dude. Like, get over it. And this is where the first lash out goes. Tyler goes to Sam. Yeah, well, maybe you forgot to plug it back in when you were taking that phone call from Jen, huh? And I rolled my eyes, dude. I was like, dude, get out of here. Like, I get you being upset, but really, that just felt very petty. But this is another good moment. So when he says that, the camera pans over to Tom right in front of Tyler, and you just see Tom go and gives him this wink. And I love that because it's like that manipulation. It's like his acknowledgement, like, dude, good job. You're standing up for what I was telling you. Basically, it's like him fucking getting him. Like, he knows. I don't know. I get so excited because I love just that little tiny detail of the wink. Really, like, made it for me. But and another red flag I didn't mention earlier is when they first get into the house, and I think it's Tyler. He's like, oh, look, this is the blood you're going to be covered in. You know, don't worry, there's no chemicals or anything. It won't stain. And Tom just goes, oh, well, you know, real blood will stain. And they're like, oh, really? And he goes, he covers it up really quick with yeah, you know, if you ever scrape your knee or anything, yeah, that will stain for days. But I felt like that was a red flag right there. And so, anyways, I'm like losing track. But let's get back into it. So after he talks to him and asks him if it's distracting or anything, the camera turns on. It's all dark, and then you get the light turns on, and it's Tom holding the camera out in the middle of the night outside. And this is where we really find out, like, okay, this dude has, like, his own intentions. Like, why else would he be filming? So he's got the camera outside, and he's talking about him making his own movie. And it's like a very little creepy monologue, but I love what he ends it with. It's such a cool little thing. He goes, film 101, all drama arises from conflict. And that's just awesome because that's where we get the next day. He's the one to unplug the fridge. So I know I jumped a little ahead right there, and I apologize. I get a little excited sometimes, and I just jump ahead of where I'm at. But yeah, that's the reason. He's the one that unplugs the fridge, and immediately Tyler believes it's Sam that didn't plug it back in. So now that makes a little more sense, we'll get back into it. So already, this is where like the bickering starts because Tyler already let him know about how he felt about Jen, about him taking the phone calls. Because he's like, you know, maybe you got distracted last night when you were taking all those phone calls. So from here on, it's basically a lot of back and forth. Now, Tyler starts to notice a lot of things that don't seem logical within the script, which I also like. They almost acknowledged like little continuity errors. They were willing to fix it, but at the same time, Sam is like on his schedule, so he's starting to get a little annoyed of all these constant changes they're making. But so it's a lot of back and forth there. So at this point, there's a part where they're trying to get through a scene, and Sam is having a difficult time for some reason, memorizing like 4 lines for some reason. And he does seem a little distracted, and Tom gives him some advice to go off script. And Tyler doesn't like that, but it ends up working. He gets through the scene, and he throws like some shade at Tyler, and Sam's like, hey, awesome job, Tom. You directed me better than this guy. Maybe you should be the director. And you could tell that Tyler gets a little salty about it. He's like, all right, well, enough of that. He's like, no, I'm serious. You know, he directed me better than you. And I don't know, it's obvious that there's tension now. You know, it started off as them being like good friends. They obviously went to like film school together, and they have this passion to now they're just both irritated and annoyed. And after Sam leaves the room, that's where Tyler confronts and Tom saying, you know what, you were right, dude. He's just way too distracted. You know, it's just, you see how he wanted to leave the room. He wanted to just go call his girlfriend. So at this point, it's basically, we have Sam and Tyler just not liking each other anymore. And you have the mastermind in the back just laughing. And the next day, Sam's iPad goes missing. And they're looking for it for like everywhere because, you know, throughout the movie it's shown that he's on this iPad all the time. He's taking these video calls. So it goes missing, and Sam flat out accuses Tyler of stealing it. And I'm going to say right now, this was probably one of my dislikes in the movie because, like I was just saying before, they seem like they have a good friendship. They went to film school. I don't know if they've been lifelong friends, but it's good. And you have this third person here who neither of them know, and yet none of them question him. And I'm just saying, like, why don't you question the weird dude? Like, why are you guys pointing the finger at each other when you have this whole third random person you have no idea, and all of a sudden things start to fall apart, and there's not once where like, well, what about you, Tom? Have you seen my iPad by any chance? You know? So anyways, there's like this big argument happens, and Tom suggests for Tyler to go out, go get some groceries, go for a walk. You know, I'll talk to him, and we'll settle things. So he's like, all right, I'm gonna go. So this is where we get to the climax, folks. You have Sam and Tom talking, and he's like, hey, I need to tell you something. We took your iPad. So he tells them that they took it, even though it's not, he didn't take it. He just says we because he knows he's already fueled with rage towards Tyler. So this is going to help it even more. So instantly he gets hella mad. He's like, he gets up, he gets all in his face, like, where's my iPad? And he's like, it's outside by this firewood. It's like, you know, we were doing this for your own good. Tom's trying to tell him. And this is a pretty cool, awesome shot. It's off screen, but it's still a cool, awesome shot. You see Sam's outside looking through the firewood for his iPad somewhere. And you have Tom come up and he grabs a horseshoe and he like kind of skips a little bit. I love that. He's just like, yeah, boom, right over the head, dude. Like continuously. And I guess if it wasn't an on-screen kill, they wouldn't have been able to do it this much. But he is just bashing his freaking head in with his horseshoe. And I want to see it, but at the same time, my imagination is running wild. And I'm just sitting there like, damn, but that is brutal. And then he walks up and he walks away and he comes back and does like one last hit. So, boom, this dude's dead. And now we have one of my favorite parts of the movie, actually, is where you have like this little monologue / breakdown of Tom. He's like, he has the camera in the kitchen. He's waiting for Tyler to come home. You know, he just killed Sam. And he's like going around. He's like talking. He's like setting things in the right place, talking about setting up the shot perfectly. Everything has to be right. It's all about placement. And you hear the car horn, the alarm, like, it's like he just pulled up. So he's like, all right, showtime. And he does he grabs the little, oh, you can't see it. He grabs one of those. I'm sorry, I don't know what they're called. And he goes, you know, here's my scene 1 final take. And he does this little thing. And he's hiding in the laundry room. And you have Tyler, he comes home. And one of the funniest things is he comes in and the freaking fridge is unplugged again. The fridge is unplugged again. I just thought that was so hilarious, dude. Like, and he even gets in like, are you serious? So he's already mad. He's like, puts the groceries away and he sits on the couch and he's kind of just like on his phone. And then out of nowhere, you see Tom come creeping up and he just starts walking in front of him and he just, boom, once again, just bashes his freaking head in. And it cuts to, I think it cuts to outside. Tom is just like kind of covered in blood and he's giving this little monologue and he throws a horseshoe and makes it and he gives his bow and these credits start rolling and every credit you see, you know, starring, music, edited, all these other credits and they just say Tom Morris, Tom Morris, Tom Morris, Tom Morris. So that is Frazier Park. Okay. And I thought it was so awesome because if you really think about it, there are 3 perspectives in this movie. And the first perspective, we're led to believe that we're watching the behind the scenes of them shooting their movie, Frazier Park. The second movie we have is, I didn't go too much into it, but they're shooting the movie. We do see a lot of them shooting their movie, Frazier Park. And the lens goes different, the color goes different. So you can tell there's 2 different color palettes of when it's behind the scenes and when they're shooting the movie. So there's a perspective behind the scenes. There's a perspective of the movie they're shooting. But ultimately, why there's music in this movie, And why it's edited the way it is because we are watching the final product of Tom Morris. This is his movie. And that's why in the beginning, you know, he says, like, there's no need for your guitar. This found footage movie, there's not going to be any music in it. And throughout the movie, there's little snippets of music. And that's why, because that third perspective is, this is his movie that he made. He killed these two dudes. He took their footage, edited it all together, and made it into Frazier Park Recut. Because at the beginning of the movie, they show their script, and it's just called Frazier Park. They talk about how they have to make some revisions, but the movie is titled Frazier Park. But on Amazon, it's actually titled Frazier Park Recut. And that's because we have Tom Morris, this freaking awesome dude, played by David Lee Harris. I don't know too much about him at all, but he is like the best part of the movie for sure. Every scene I felt like he was in is very manipulative, very just like unsettling to look at times. And he's freaking awesome at playing guitar. Like, you know, you see him, he does the guitar, like anytime you hear guitar music, that's all him. Like, for real, that is all him. So overall, this was a really well done movie. Really enjoyed it, as you can tell. It was really hard to find things I didn't like about it because I have to like nitpick with these movies sometimes because I like them so much. So when I find I have to try to find something I dislike. It's always very little. Like, I didn't like the fact that they're making a movie. So why are you always answering your phone, dude? And your girlfriend should also respect that you're making a movie. She should wait to call you maybe later on at night. Or you should let her know, hey, babe, I'm going to be shooting between 7 a.m. and probably like 8 p.m. Can you text me then? Or if I can, I will call you. But no, and I know that we needed this for some conflict, but it just felt a little like, I don't know, like why would you disturb him while he's making a movie? Or dude, Sam, why wouldn't you put your phone on silent? I think in the beginning he even tells Charlie, him like, dude, can you put that on silent? Like, you know, we're trying to make a movie here. So that's like one thing I didn't really like. That was like my biggest gripe with the movie. But other than that, I want to just, man, you guys did an awesome job. I'm looking forward to anything else you guys have to do. And I want to just give out a shout out to the found footage subreddit. I'll put a link under it right there. I'll go ahead and put a link of this movie and a link to their channel, because I think they have a channel for their production company, the guys that made this movie. I can't remember it at the top of my head, and I'm sorry about that, but I will put a link on there for you guys. So if you guys enjoyed this, please feel free to like. If you have any suggestions, or if you want to just talk about this movie, go ahead and do it in the comments. Go ahead and share, like, subscribe, share. And I'll try to be putting these out weekly, every like 5 to maybe 7, 8 days. I'm going to try. So I know I've been putting out movies I really like because I wanted to do my first set of movies where I was really comfortable with the movies. I've seen them a lot and I know them pretty well. But this next movie I feel like I have to do because I don't want to be just always giving out what I feel are these good movies. I would like to go in and dive into crappier movies. So the next movie I'm going to do, I'm already getting mad thinking about it. It's this stupid movie called Area 407, and I'm not even looking forward to it. But I want to do it just to show you that, you know, for every like 4 good movies, like the 4 or 5 movies that I did that I feel are really good, somebody always puts out one that is just like, that's Area 407. But anyway, so shout out to the subreddit, and thank you for anybody that's watching. Thank you for the subscribers that I do have. I appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. I like to give out recommendations and just talk about found footage in general and horror movies. I'm not just found footage, as you can see. I do like other horror movies. I love slashers, and I love 80s freaking 70s, 80s cheese, man. Killer clowns, I love that. But I want to just do found footage for a good while because this is a subgenre that I really have a passion for. So until next time, guys, happy spookies.